In the late 1980s, King Charles had a vision: to create the perfect town, a place where traditional architecture met modern sustainability, where social classes mixed seamlessly, and where cars took a back seat to pedestrians. That place became Poundbury. But 30 years later, this royal experiment is facing a crisis no one saw coming. The town that was supposed to be a utopia is now facing a crisis, with rats scurrying through the streets and foul odors filling the air. Residents who once saw Poundbury as a model community are now questioning its very existence. Poundbury sits on the edge of Dorchester in Dorset, England, an experimental urban extension that was meant to challenge conventional town planning. At first glance, it's unlike anything you'd expect from a modern British suburb. Pull up a map of Poundbury, and you'll see a patchwork of winding roads and narrow alleyways. Unlike the grid-like layouts you find in most towns, Poundbury's streets meander like those of a historic village. But as the first families moved in, cracks began to show in this royal vision. Imagine walking down a charming cobblestone lane, only to see rodents darting between hidden waste bins. For many, it's like watching their dream turn into a nightmare. The irony is that the very elements designed to make Poundbury beautiful, its hidden waste disposal areas and carefully concealed alleyways, have become breeding grounds for these pests. And with waste management falling short of expectations, what was once a picture-perfect town is now fighting a losing battle against nature's most persistent scavengers. If rats weren't enough, residents are also grappling with another unpleasant surprise. The air in Poundbury stinks. On some days, a foul odor seems to hang in the air like an unwelcome guest. At the heart of this issue is Poundbury's mixed-use design, an intentional blending of residential and commercial spaces meant to create a vibrant, walkable community. It's the kind of place where you could walk to work, pop by a cafe for lunch, and be back home in minutes. But that proximity has come at a cost. Imagine sitting down to dinner with your family, only to be interrupted by the overpowering scent of frying oil from a nearby restaurant. The idea was that everyone would live together in harmony, but the reality is that residents are finding it hard to stomach, literally. King Charles didn't just want Poundbury to look beautiful. He wanted it to be a solution to one of the UK's biggest problems: affordable housing. About 35% of the homes in the most recent phase of development were earmarked for social housing. At first, this seemed like a significant step in addressing the UK's housing crisis, offering hope to those priced out of the traditional market. But reality paints a different picture. Despite the town's aspirations, Poundbury has become a haven for the wealthy and retirees, with property prices far out of reach for most local residents. Critics have been vocal about what they see as the artificiality of Poundbury. Walk through its streets, and you might feel like you're in a theme park. The buildings, while charming, are mock classical in style, designed to mimic the past rather than embrace the future. Some have compared it to a stage set, a place where everything looks just a little too perfect, a little too planned. Poundbury's architecture may be rooted in history, but it hasn't aged well in the eyes of those who live there. The uniformity, the strict adherence to historical styles, has created a town that feels more like a museum than a living, breathing community. There's a sense that Poundbury, for all its beauty, has become frozen in time, disconnected from the realities of modern urban life. Poundbury was supposed to be the future of urban planning, a model for how we could build better, more sustainable communities, and in some ways, it still is. The town's commitment to sustainability, its emphasis on walkability, and its rejection of modernist architecture were all noble goals, but the execution has fallen short. The tale of Poundbury isn't just about one town's failure to live up to its lofty ideals. It's a cautionary tale about the challenges of creating utopia in the real world. Poundbury may have leaned too heavily on its historical charm, forgetting that towns need to evolve and adapt. In the end, the town that King Charles built may still offer valuable lessons for future urban planners. And it reminds us that utopias, no matter how well-intentioned, are never as perfect as they seem. As Poundbury continues to grapple with its identity, one question lingers. Can this royal experiment still find a way to thrive, or will it remain a cautionary tale for generations to come? The answer, much like Poundbury itself, is still a work in progress.